So this week's episode of Soma Spider So What, the first three-fourths of this episode were dominated by Kumiko, the adventures, the insanity, the comedy, and also the drama of well, you kind of started a war just because you're playing babysitter for baby vampire here. But the last little section of the episode was dedicated on the teacher and exposing from her point of view why actions were taken in such a way. And honestly, while I'm not surprised she's not a bad person, saw a lot of people last week saying how, clearly she's a horrible person, she never told them anything, and she got them in this situation. To me, it felt more like, Mr. Elf over here kind of feels like he's up to no good more so than the teacher, and I saw a lot of people say either A, she didn't know what she was doing, or B, she had no other choice, and I pretty much agreed with that thought process much more than just simply a teacher who, from what we've seen and how characters have spoke about her, why would she ever want to willingly betray her students? It doesn't feel like it's in character. You can argue, well, it's a new world, so she has a new life, sure, but it just felt like naturally the story was trying to tell something different. So to have this episode where we get the confirmation, at least seemingly, we've all seen, I think it's like N percentage, something like that. There's this weird stat that all the characters have, and seemingly that indicates every character has a unique skill. And if not, at the very least, someone like Admin D has been playing with some weird shit because you gave the teacher the ability to look at the student roster, which not only tells you their status, it tells you when they're going to die. You literally have an ability that spoils the ending, and that kind of is frightening. There's been plenty of surveys across the world where it's like, hey, if you have the ability to tell when you're going to die, would you want to know? A majority of people come out saying they wouldn't want to know because it's kind of frightening, right? Because you want to be a little oblivious unless it's something major health-wise that you could avoid. So to have her really feel just horrible, like we learned in this episode that, a lot of how she was interacting with her students seemingly was fake, but she also was seemingly happy. So when she reads the death charts and how most of them wouldn't live past their 20s, that has to hurt in more ways than one. So they ended up getting killed when they're in their teens, right? In the original world, that random blast, whatever that was, killed them. So let's just say on average, by the time they were 16, they all ended up dead. You get a second chance at life, you're a baby chilling in your bed, and you realize that they're going to die again for the most part before they hit 20. Even combined, that's not a fulfilling life. So what can you do? Well, you buy the telepath skill, and you talk with the one person who listens, and in doing so, you probably got manipulated into doing things that may not seem all that great. I still don't trust this man, I still feel like he's up to no good, he gives me stranger danger vibes, but the reason why they were literally forcibly removed from their homes, and the reason they started hating, she has a point in her skill that doesn't allow her to explain things. Makes crystal clear sense now, and I'll be shocked if a lot of people are still going to come out saying that the teacher's a bad person, because not only did they cover the tracks on why she's been keeping secrets, they also touched upon why she has so much fear for her students. So even if this man is a complete scumbag who's up to no good, she had no other choice seemingly based on her circumstances and the only person who was willing to listen. Incredible stuff. That's what I love about this show, because there's been so many questions I've seen people say, like, why is she keeping secrets? And I've mentioned it myself over different reviews, and it's something that I just thought would be explained as simply, hey, there's a lot of secrets in this world. If you make a deal with this character, that character probably told you not to tell anyone. It's pretty much basic politics. But by having something ingrained into the skill, that makes it all the better, especially considering that it just shows you how long-term this plan was in terms of writing the source material and how good the anime has done at adapting it in its own way with visual, audio, and just character dialogue. Love that type of stuff, and even after the credits there, seeing just, Vampire Baby grow up, have little Kumiko-looking character, which is like a speaker, a microphone, or maybe it was just a legit spider, as we're talking with Ariel, how we're basically launching an all-out assault, as we also are building up to an all-out assault in the past. One of the things I love about the past and present timeline is how no matter what's happening, there's always some overlap, in the case of what's going on in this arc. In the past, basically, Kumiko, the babysitter, started a war by killing some diplomats because they were waiting for something to happen in order to launch out an assault that normally a kingdom like this wouldn't be able to do, but backed by so many supporters, can do so. And in the present timeline, we have Ariel doing the exact same thing. There's always things overlapping, whether it's Shun's party arriving to the location that our spider's at in the past, right? There's always that overlap, and it's really cool. sometimes it can get confusing. You're like, oh, look at this army. You're like, oh shit, that's actually the present day army, not the past army, right? But still, it's just really cool with how they're directing it, and I really love that. I thought this episode was hilarious, it was eventful, and it is kind of hilarious to think about the fact that Kumiko, someone who's literally chilling in a tree, just saying, you know what, it probably would make sense for me to leave, but I kind of have to babysit right now. And in doing so, her babysitting started a war, but on the flip side, she kind of has a buffet all at her fingertips. We've seen what she's able to do when people were trying to assassinate her in a tree. She killed a dozen people without even trying, just looking at them, and she literally sniped this man from across the map. Like, this is basically wall hack she has. So, while I'm sure there could be some struggles to it, maybe, you know, there's limitations with how many she can kill at a time, have to recharge. Either way, I mean, it's a pretty good situation for her at the very least, because even if, say, this army, she can't kill all of them by herself, she's gonna level up a ridiculous amount, 100%, though it doesn't look good for a baby vampire and family, but I guess we'll see where it's gonna go, right? They probably have explained the outcome of what happened in the past battle, but I'm kind of forgetting, I'm just glossing over it, so I'm just gonna go in blind, see what happens with what's gonna occur there. But I think the most unexpected aspect, even though the teacher stuff was pretty surprising in many ways, the other admin popping up and finally being able to talk, because Kumiko, when she absorbed Mother's skills, now has the ability to understand languages, and because she has the telepath skill, she's actually starting to learn how to speak and how to actually understand with what they're saying. We get it at the beginning of this episode as we have multiple funny moments. So to have this admin pretty much say, please stop attacking humans, and please don't attack Ariel. Well, unfortunately, I'm not attacking Ariel. Body Brain's doing that. I have no control. Oh shit, that sucks. I kind of was forcing you into a situation you have no control over. Well, at the very least, could you just go live quietly somewhere else and not involve yourself with humans? Also can't do that. It's interesting because from the first interaction with this character, it gave me the impression of obey or get slaughtered. Now we're getting an interaction where it's more like, hey, I can't control your actions, but I'm going to request you to do other things. Really night and day to what's been happening with this interaction, and now that Kumiko can actually project her thoughts into other characters' heads and also understand with what they're saying to her. I mean, a great example is how when she destroyed the fortress, she just looked at it as a bunch of humans and she kind of blasted her way to freedom. Now she understands like, oh, yeah, I kind of did destroy their fortress. Maybe it's understandable why they're a little pissed off, but still, you know, you're attacking me. That's kind of her mentality, and I like how she's starting to understand things a lot more, where she's saying things like, hey, you know, I'm not attacking Ariel, Ariel's attacking me, and really, I'm just kind of waiting and running away. So it's interesting how different characters kind of like either completely understand her in the case of the admin, or in the case of diplomats who are just trying to pick a fight, saying, you know, bring it on, bitch. That's pretty much how it's going on. Incredible stuff, and I love how many characters are on screen. Sometimes a show like this could feel bloated. It wouldn't feel bloated probably in a light novel, because in the light novel, you have the ability to focus in on so many different characters' internal thoughts, but in anime, it can be a little difficult. I saw last week people saying, oh, we didn't get to see the teacher's internal thought process on why she does things. This episode shows it as such. So you have to rearrange, you have to do things differently. But the number of different characters' perspectives, both in the past and the present, just really make it flesh out so much more interesting. The past is pretty much just Kumiko and maybe Ariel and sometimes the admins, but in the present, there's so many different things that play, these little chess pieces that really just create such a captivating story. I think this episode did a great job at blending the 3D and the 2D. We had both 2D and 3D on the spider side and the human side. I mean, when you have an army that big, you have to go 3D, and they've had plenty of points where, honestly, their 3D is some of the best I've seen in this medium, so an army marching in 3D actually looked pretty good. It wasn't that basic bitch stuff you usually see in anime, so that's a really good sign. Overall, I mean, I think we have 4 episodes left to go, hopefully going to get a second season. I mean, this show's on a roll to end in a very explosive way. We have 2 different wars taking place. We have the build-up of Ariel versus Kumiko, the smaller, slow downtime moments. Like, this show is on a roll. Hilarious, eventful, frightening. It's incredible, and I never thought I'd say it, but I mean, once again, we have another admin character who I think is even more interesting than anything we've seen on screen. I mean, the biggest question I had was Admin D. Now we have this man. I mean, I'm just so interested in what their purpose is and why they have different opinions on what should happen. But let me know your thoughts and feelings down below, your theories, your speculations, and where do you think it's going to go with that war, the double-sided war, both in the past and present? If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.